Hi, I'm Kevin. Well, today I wanted to show you my newest kitchen toy. It's a perforated pie pan. So it has holes all along the sides and along the bottom. And the holes are supposed to permit hot air from the oven to penetrate the pie crust so you don't end up with soggy crust. And you certainly won't have a soggy bottom. Anyway, the pan measures 9 inches at the top, 8 inches along the bottom, and it is 1 3/4 inches deep. So I'm going to make some pie dough and some pumpkin pie filling because it's November, and then we're going to give this thing a test run. All right, so I'm going to make the pie crust the way I always do, and that is in the food processor. So 1½ cups of all-purpose flour, a ½ teaspoon of salt, and it's going to be a sweet crust, so I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of granulated sugar. And then put the lid on and just mix very quickly. Done. Then sprinkle on 1 stick, that's 113 grams, of unsalted, cold, diced butter. Yeah, this is an all butter pastry crust. There we go. And then pulse just to break up the butter. I always pat the top because otherwise the flour will come flying out. Okay, we look good. We have little pea-sized bits of butter. So then with the machine running, add 1/3 cup of ice water through the feed tube. Here we go. And I'm going to let this run just until the dough begins to mass on the blade. There it goes. Okay, then we're going to dump the dough onto the work surface, which today is this nice blue cutting board. And then just gather the crumbly dough into a ball. Pick up all the stray bits. And then flatten the dough into a disc. So this pie crust is really easy to make. And it tastes so much better than the store-bought, Pillsbury ready-made crust, which I really don't like. Anyway, so you wrap the dough in plastic and then just pop it into the refrigerator and let it chill for 30 minutes to an hour. Okay, we'll be back. All right, for the pumpkin pie filling, I'm simply going to follow the directions that are on the back of every 15-ounce can of Libby's pure pumpkin puree. It's a super simple recipe and it always works out really well. Oh, I forgot to mention that my oven is preheating to 425 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, here's the filling. All right, so first up, put 3/4 cup of sugar in a smallish bowl, then add a ½ teaspoon of salt. Then add 1 tablespoon or 3 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice. Actually, I'm just going to add 2 teaspoons of the pumpkin pie spice, and this is what it looks like. On the back of the Libby's can, they give you individual spice ingredients. Clove, cinnamon, and what's the other spice? Hang on, I'll tell you. Okay, it's cinnamon, ginger, and cloves. And all of those spices are in pumpkin pie spice. And then you want to whisk this just to blend really well. Okay, and then set this aside for a moment, and then grab a large bowl. I'm going to move you out so you can see. And move this aside. Then crack 2 large eggs into a large bowl. 2. And whisk them really well. Then we're going to add, let's see, the pure pumpkin puree. Where's my spatula? Boy, if you don't want to watch me make the filling, just zoom ahead to see the final pie. I'm really hoping that perforated pie tin works out. Okay, whisk in the pumpkin puree. Of course, I hope you're still watching because I enjoy your company. Then add 1 can. Hang on, let me look at the weight of this can. I think it's a 12 ounce. Yes, it's a 12 ounce can of, let me see if I can turn it without spilling it, of evaporated milk. We're going to add this slowly so that the milk doesn't splash all over. Well, I told you this was an easy recipe. Yeah, I think this Libby's recipe has been around for I don't know how many decades. It was around when I was a kid, that's for sure. And that was a long time ago. Okay, then we have to add the dry ingredients to the wet. In it goes. Just beat that in. And we're good to go. So all that is left to do is to roll out the pie crust. Okay, while I roll out the pie crust, let me tell you a little story. So I owe my discovery of this perforated pie pan to my dog Avery and her good friend Ella. Ella is a coonhound, and Ella and Avery play at the dog park most mornings. Well, Ella's owner is named Steve, and both Steve and his wife Carol are major cooks and bakers. And one morning last week, Steve and I were discussing pie crusts, and he talked about pie crust having a soggy bottom, which he really can't stand. And he said he was going to buy a metal pie pan and drill holes in it to see if that made any difference in a better baked pie crust. And I thought that was a brilliant idea. And I said, yeah, you know what, you should really patent that idea if it works out. And then you can make a ton of money. No sooner had I said that than I pulled out my smartphone and I Googled perforated pie pan, and sure enough, someone had already invented this thing. So I ordered it right away, and it just came yesterday. So this video is in part for Steve, because I want to show him whether or not the perforations work. And the pie pan does not give any directions for, special use. So I'm just going to roll this crust out to, well, normally I would roll it to 12 inches in diameter, but because the pan has these straight sides rather than sloping sides, I'm going to roll it probably closer to 13 inches, and we are almost there. And I'm so happy that this French all butter crust is so easy to work with. It rolls beautifully, it rarely cracks. Okay, so we're at 12 inches. I'm going to go out a little more. Okay, shore up the sides. Try to keep this round. Let's see. A little more over here. And I think we're good. Okay, then, as usual, just fold the dough into a triangle. And then, here's my perforated pie pan. Going to center the dough and then unfold it. By the way, this pan is non-stick, so you don't have to butter or spray it. Well, you wouldn't have to butter it anyway, because there's so much butter in this dough, it just wouldn't stick to anything. Okay, let's see. Now, this is my first time using this pan, remember, so some of this will be guesswork. I'm going to push it against the sides just gently. And then here's the big question: to flute or not to flute? I really don't know. What I'm going to do, yeah, I'll go ahead. I'll try to flute the sides. On second thought, I'm going to just fold them under a little bit. Sorry this is taking so long. I'm nothing if not slow. Okay. Yeah, what I'm doing is just making the top of the rim of the crust just a little bit thicker. Okay, then I'm going to press this against the sides. Yeah, I think if I fluted this, it would probably just collapse in the oven. I could be wrong. Okay. Well, it doesn't look that sexy, but we shall see how this works out. Again, this is just an experiment. Okay, move this out of the way. And then I'm going to ladle this beautiful pumpkin pie filling into the shell. Actually, I'll just pour it. Now I know that this filling usually, well, it always puffs up in the oven, so you don't want to fill the pie shell all the way to the top. So this seems to have worked out perfectly. Then I'm going to put this into the 425 degree oven for exactly 15 minutes, and then I'm going to lower the oven temperature to 350 degrees and continue baking the pie for another 30 to 40 minutes. So we'll come back when the pie is done. And here's the pie, fresh out of the oven. I'm going to let it cool on a wire rack for about 2 hours, and then we can cut into it. All right, the pie has achieved room temperature, more or less, and I have just cut myself a nice big slice. And one caveat with this pie plate is that you can't use a metal knife against it or you will scratch the non-stick coating. So you have to use like a hard spatula or a plastic knife to cut your slices. And let's have a look. So here's the side crust. And remember, the pan is, let me show you. Well, I already showed you earlier. So the pan is perforated on the side, so the crust got brown on the side. That's a first for me. And I'm going to try to flip this over so we can see the bottom crust. Look at that. The bottom crust is brown as well. So this is definitely not going to be a soggy bottom pie. Now a taste. Yeah, the bottom crust has a little bit of crunch to it, which is actually very pleasant. Okay, let me move the camera so I can talk with you. Okay, I just finished that slice. Boy, it was really delicious. So, in closing, I wanted to say that if a soggy bottom has been the bane of your pie crust, you might want to get yourself one of these nifty perforated pie pans. And let's see, this is the cardboard sleeve that came with the pan. It says Masterclass Crusty Bake. And again, I bought it on Amazon and it was $32. So it's not a cheap pan, but it's a very good pan. And I plan to do a lot of experiments with this perforated dish. I'm going to make probably a 2-crust fruit pie, and I will definitely do a quiche. The nice thing about the pan is that you really don't have to blind bake the crust in order to get that nice crisp bottom. So that's all. I'll see you very soon. Thanks for watching. Hey, bye for now. Oh, one more thing. I'll post a link to the name of this pan down in the description box below. Okay, bye-bye.